Hello. We are filming this on Monday, the 17th of 2024. We are about to celebrate our 77th anniversary. And I am very fortunate to have three of my nieces and nephews, and a great nephew has joined us as well. And so I'm just going to let you introduce yourselves, see how I got around that.
Perfect.
Amy, would you like to begin?
Sure. My name's Amy McClelland. I'm Rolf's niece and fourth generation Jerrols.
And who are your parents?
Oh, yeah, my parents would be Kelly, Rolf's sister, and my dad, Bruce.
This is Clayton. I'm Nate Bradshaw. I'm Michelle Bradshaw's son, and Bart, who is Rolf's sister. And Clayton is my son, so we'd be fourth and fifth generation with Jerrols.
Hi, my name is Cody Panish. I am the daughter of Elizabeth, Williams, and Craig Potier, and also Ralph's niece.
And just because it's super fun and confusing, is that we have a Michelle Bradshaw who used to be a Williams with one L in Michelle, and then we have my wife, Michelle Williams, with two L's. So one L and two L, be very clear as we continue this conversation, I'm sure. So I'm super excited to have you guys here, and I would just want to kind of ask you some random questions. So first of all, what were the stories you heard from your parents about Jerrols, like when they worked here?
Nate, do you want to go first?
Not really, but I will.
I can if you don't want to.
Go for it. Give me it.
Well, I just think because mine is funny. So my mom has two really distinct memories that she told me about. The first one, prom. She wasn't planning to go to prom, and a guy came in and asked her dad, Jerry, if he could take Kelly to prom. And Grandpa said yes for my mom. It was the day of. So she had to wear like a homemade gunny sack dress that she had put into the fair the previous year, and go to prom with this random guy that she didn't really know. And she still holds a grudge. And then the other story is actually that my mom claims she got fired from Jerrols, which we laugh about now because she really is not a customer service kind of person. And she really, as much as she loves the store and the history, it wasn't her favorite job she's ever had. And so it's funny that now I work here and it is my favorite job.
I don't remember a lot of distinct memories Mom told me about Jerrols growing up when she was a kid. I remember she worked here. She said they didn't really have a choice. There was never an option or a question if you want to work there. It was
No choice.
Yeah, you're lucky you get a choice someday. But it was a you're gonna work here type of deal. And she remembers like it was pretty much Grandpa's life. Like it was he'd go home at night and do books, or he was just always something with Jerrols, always working at it. So it kind of didn't define the family, but it was definitely a huge part of the family for all of them growing up.
That's kind of what I heard too growing up, was that Jerrols was a huge defining factor, and that she can remember him opening up the store, or Jerry opening up the store on Christmas Day for somebody who had forgotten to buy Christmas presents. And then another weird memory, and I can't remember if it was her that did that or just a story that she heard, but my mom is the youngest, and so she would kind of get away with a lot, but she would rummage through the magazines when they would sell magazines and find the ones that she would want and just kind of take them home and read them, and then like hide them in the back when she was done so nobody would notice.
I'm hearing all these things I didn't really think I was going to hear. In previous interviews, I heard things that were like, oh, really? So what were your earliest memories of Jerrols?
Shopping with Grandma.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so you didn't grow up here, Amy, right? So this
Yeah.
was a very different experience. Well, and same for you, Cody, because you didn't grow up here, but you, Nate, would have had a very different experience.
I still to heart know the Jerrols phone number because Mom would be at work and Sheila and I, my sister and I would be at home, and we get in a fight or something. So you call Mom at work, and I think everybody here knew us by like right when we answered, and they answered, "Oh yeah, hold on, your mom's right here," and because this was kind of just a second home growing up. I feel like we spent a lot of time here, a lot of late nights doing inventory when we hand counted every rubber band, everything on the shelf, and I don't know. I have a lot of memories. I remember the Valentine's Day parties where you'd come in and Edna and Grandma and Dorothy, they had like doilies that they set out and you'd make big Valentines. They had it like the whole floor was open and they butcher paper down and you made big Valentine's doilies and all that type of stuff. So I don't know. I remember a lot of memories growing up here.
Were you part of the Harry Potter?
Oh yes.
So you remember?
Yeah, that was my. Because was it you or somebody wrote in on a Harley as Hagrid?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that you or was that...
It was not me. It was actually Rob Smith,
Okay.
who is Lana Smith's son, who Lana taught me my job. And she did an interview with us that is available here on this website as well. Her son rode his dad's Harley through the door with the books in the saddlebags to be kind of the release of them.
Because you couldn't release them until midnight.
Right, exactly.
So there was a party here until midnight when it,
right.
And that was like the fourth or fifth book. That was after the first three had taken off.
And Cody, were you part of any of that?
No,
yeah.
I was here when you guys did CW nights.
Oh, sure. Right. You worked here then.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And Amy, I kind of interrupted you. So you said you remember shopping here with Grandma.
Yeah. So coming to visit, that was like part of the highlight of the trip. And I think both Cody and I would spend at least a full week here every summer, if not more. And like I took my very first ceramics class at Gallery 1, and now I'm back doing ceramics at Gallery 1, which is really fun. But yeah, and she would always bring us in and let us pick out, I think, as many books as we wanted, and craft supplies. If she didn't already have it at home, she'd get it for us. But yeah, I got a lot of books, and there was never. It was so funny to me because there was never any. I don't remember her ever asking, like, oh, like this is the kids section. Like I could just walk the whole store, and I had some really weird books as a kid because I would just find random stuff and pick it up and take it up to the counter. But yeah.
Cody?
Going
to before
before
you worked here.
I think the most prominent earliest memory is Labor Day weekend. We would always come for a fair and rodeo, and before the parade, we would always go in and try and get our school shopping done. So I would have my little list, and then we would always get a balloon, and then we'd go out and watch the parade, and I'd rummage through all my school stuff, being so excited and watching everything go by. And then later on, when I got older and they installed, and Weinigers became a part of this building, I would come in and I was like, oh my gosh, can we get ice cream too? So it was always Jerrols and Weinigers, and then we'd watch the parade.
Yeah, the parades.
Yeah.
That came back to me, as you said, Labor Day weekend. I was like, oh yeah. And shopping for school supplies, I always felt like I had the coolest school supplies when I'd go back home.
Did.
Because nobody else
guys
had a store like this where they could go buy stuff like that.
You guys had Jansport backpacks.
Yeah.
You guys
Right.
worked through Jansport, so every year we got to pick out
We
for
still
a new
have Jansport
backpack.
backpacks, yeah.
Because you had, like, I don't know, there was a big supply. I remember as a kid, that was like, you picked out a new backpack every year, and that was like the highlight. You came here and picked out the backpack, and you got the fancy new one, and that was fun.
The cool stationery.
Oh, yeah.
Pencil
Binder.
sharpeners, yeah.
Yep.
So eventually, you all decided to work here, or were forced, depending on
Yes.
where we. And some of us did it later in life. Some of us did it earlier. Cody, you have sort of a unique story because you actually started working here. How old?
I was 16.
And your family lived in Vancouver,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
close enough.
Mhm.
And you came up here during the summers and lived with Grandma and Grandpa, just so you could work here.
Yeah. It was kind of in the back of my mind when I was about to turn 16, and I was like, I need to get a job, but I don't really want to work at home. Let's try Jerrols. And so I put in an application, luckily got hired, and I loved it. I loved my time here from 16 on.
And that's interesting because I think all of you had to apply. Is that correct?
I don't remember. I started, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I was in elementary school. right?
But not formally, like
Not
running a
formally.
register and so
No,
forth. Right,
no.
right.
Because Mom worked here in the morning, so
Right.
we had to come in before school.
Sure, sure.
So we would just face shelves and stuff like that
Right.
and whatnot. But I imagine I did, whenever I got formally hired.
And do you remember being interviewed?
Mhm.
Yeah. And same thing. You had to go through
100%,
all of
yeah.
that, right? Right. And you did too, Nate, because I would have required
I'd
that.
imagine you, yeah.
And so nobody here was given a job. All of you earned it and fit our profile. And Amy can swear to this because she's been looking for 6 months to find somebody. And we're awfully particular. And I mean, people comment about our customer service all the time. It's not by accident. It's because we make sure we have the right people to start with. And so it's just interesting that you all happen to fit the profile and earn a place. So why don't we go to you, Nate? What do you remember about working the store beyond when you were underage?
Because I never ran a cash register. I never
Really?
worked the front. Chula did for a couple
Right,
summers.
right,
My
your
did,
sister.
but I never, I mean, I worked in the mornings, sweeping and shoveling snow, right, and facing shelves and stuff like that, and then before school. And then I eventually worked up, and I'd work with you and Grandpa in the back, counting money. And I'd balance all the tills and all the registers, and then when summer came and I had time, I would walk down to the bank, or drive down
And
to the
take the
bank and take the
deposits.
deposit
Sure.
down. So when school was there, I'd work for an hour and then hand it off to Grandpa. To
Back
Jerry,
when
because
he
he'd
was
walk
doing
down,
the deposits.
and then he'd come down and take over what I had not done, and whatever monetary mess I had made out of trying to count the tills and stuff, I would tell him and he would balance it all. And I remember it was the Grandpa way. Like to this day, all the bills in my back pocket are all face up, same direction, 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s.
Yeah.
Not that I have that much in my pocket, but like there was a very old school exact way of how you counted money and how everything was done. And it was good. I mean, that was just how Grandpa counted the books and stuff. So, I mean, I guess I did buyback because I was in the back. So I could do buyback on textbooks back in the day. And that was kind of the extent of the customer interaction part I ever had.
So you probably didn't actually fill out an application.
I don't know. Because I mean, summertime, when I could drive, I would work long enough to do all the books and do all that stuff.
Sure.
But I never moved up to doing full front of the house stuff. Or
It's never too late.
I know, it's your time. It's still young.
And what you talk about, the way the bills are put in, what specifically this is for taking a deposit to the bank, the way we put our bills together, is, in me, it's not the old school way, it's the right way. And that is exactly what we do today. And people at the bank will actually comment, like, you actually put your bills together correctly. And we do count back change because to me, it's just the right way to do it.
Well, that's one thing. When Mom opened up her store at Pearl Street, same thing.
Yeah.
Every time I did banking for her, it was all the bills were one way, everything we counted back change. You know what I mean? That's something that was instilled, obviously, in the children on how to do something. And
right. And for all that, our till drawers are actually backwards compared to every other retail business.
Really?
Because Grandma and Grandpa didn't know how you set up a till drawer, so they just did it the way they did it. But we have our ones over here, and in every other business, they're over here. And it's been that way for 77 years, and we're not changing. Interesting. Cody, you want to share your experiences of working here back?
Yeah. So, like you previously stated, I started when I was 16, and I would come here during the summers, and I loved it. I worked with all college kids, and so everything was just all brand new, and I got to see what my life could potentially be like 2-3 years down the road. Lo and behold, it was. And I ended up going to college at Central, and so I was able to work here all year round. And I remember a lot of people coming in and telling me stories of their experience with Grandpa and with Rolf when he was younger, and all of the stories that come along with that. And all of the after hours events that we would do, it was really cool to see a whole new community of people kind of get out of campus, because it's a whole other town in there, and just kind of have them experience what I think authentic Ellensburg was.
And who were the people you worked with? Do you remember?
I worked with Ashley, Erin, Chrissy, Sabrina, Kendra, Tate for a little bit, Jorge for a little bit, Jessica, obviously, Crystal. Oh, I'm sure there were a few more.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And what years would this have been?
2016 to 2019.
Mark Ritchie would have
Yeah,
been
Mark
here at that
Ritchie.
time,
Sure,
yeah.
the whole time.
How could I forget Mark?
So right up until just before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Me or
Yeah, whoever.
For me, the good was interacting with people from the community and just having a great place to work. Like, I loved coming to work every single day. I think when people would call out sick and I had my days off, Chrissy would call me and I'd be like, yep, I'm there. Give me a few minutes.
Need a job?
Yeah. The bad for me was, I don't know if I had a truly bad experience. I think when I couldn't find something from doing carts, I walked the aisles and then people would obviously need help. So then I'd help them and then I'd forget what I was doing and I'd be like, all right. And I think, I don't know if I really had an ugly experience because I loved my coworkers. Yeah, I don't know if I had a really ugly experience. Maybe I blocked it out, but.
That's good. Nate, anything you? Did Grandpa ever
I
get
enjoyed
not
it.
so happy with
not
you?
Really. He was
Okay.
always pretty okay with it. I mean, he worked with me through all the problems. I think the worst. Would you wait, please? Thank you. The worst was when, like, it was a good job. I was able to work before school, which was nice. So I was able to do stuff after school still, but have money. And really, in those days, I just spent all my money going out to lunch at the high school every day. But to have money to do that was nice. And worked with family. Like, you were good to work with, Grandpa was good to work with, Mom was, and it just was a family. I knew about everybody who worked in here pretty well, and they've worked here for a long time at that point. I think the worst thing I did was if a till did not balance.
And it wasn't just like pennies off, because that was whatever, but if it was like $100 off, that was like crap, this is not gonna be good, this is, tell Uncle Rolf, did I screw something up, or I don't know. You had that spreadsheet too, that was intense. You probably still have it. It was an Excel spreadsheet that had been modified, but half the cells you were just not really supposed to touch.
To something that I
Please
don't know
don't.
what they went to.
So if I screwed something up on that, it was like a Control-Z, hopefully something works out. But it really wasn't a bad working place. Like, there weren't bad employees. I kind of worked by myself in the back. I guess my sister and I probably got some fights, but like, there was, I don't know, it was a good place to work for sure.
And this was back when the offices were all kind of crammed into that wall back in the corner.
There was the one office in the back. That was it. You kind of walked
It
through
was
the
like
one
but there were like 4 desks.
Yeah, there was your desk, and then the other thing, and then the safe was back. It was
People would always have to get up
Yep.
in order for someone to get by to get to their desk.
Yep.
Yeah, right,
There was just one rolly chair you went back and forth. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Whoa. The comic relief. Yeah, that was a bad
Um, there's just the one counter back there that you guys would do buyback on, and kind of do everything. Receiving with that old. You guys still have the forklift?
Mm-hmm.
Old Heister.
Yeah.
With the flowers on it.
Yep, with the flowers on it. And textbooks were a big part of
Yeah, that was
what,
everything.
especially
So-
with cash and stuff,
Yeah.
because you had a lot more money to count in those days. And buying back books, at least for me, was sometimes traumatic, and you'd have long lines and people not necessarily happy.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was at the tail end of it.
Yeah.
The register is never balanced. When you're buying back books, it was always, because there's so much just cash going both ways. I mean, they balance, but it was always harder to make it do so.
And then just physically dealing with all the books and where to put them and how to sort them and how to pallets and pallets and pallets of books. Yeah, very different than it is now. What else should I ask you?
You're not gonna ask me for the good, the bad, and the
You're still here. You're yeah.
he doesn't want to hear it.
You're still here.
And you're lucky to have me.
Indeed.
I don't know. I remember you guys had. I don't know if you used to have the circle clothing racks.
Mm-hmm.
The round ones. You put all the sweatshirts on. I don't know how we got away with it, but my sister and I would be here a lot, and we would hide in those things.
Oh yeah,
And we would get inside of those things and play hide and seek with each other through the whole story.
My
Like
brother did the same thing at Goodwill's.
it never seemed like a business. It seemed like just a place for us to play and hang out. And we were here so much that we were just like, you didn't realize there was customers here trying to shop and whatnot.
Well, and I had a moment, Brooke's daughter, over the week, I think it was Saturday, and Brooke's the one filming this, but her daughter was in, I think Brooke was having coffee with a friend and her daughter, and her little friend came in and they were hiding under all the tables and in the back offices, running around, just having a really good time, and it was so cute to see that. I was like, oh yeah. Like,
that's right, yeah.
That's what we want to be,
yeah,
for sure.
So Amy, why don't you tell us your experience? Although it's very recent.
It is very recent. I think everything so far has been incredible in this. I think every day I'm reminded that I get to be here and do my dream job, helping people out on the sales floor or helping my team, and carrying on like this little piece of family history is so special. I think I have got two bad, well, just because my first day being trained to close the store, I got a key and the code and everything, and I didn't lock the front door. And I was so embarrassed, mortified. It's like, oh my gosh, these people just hired me to be like a team lead up the front, but I can't even lock a door. But one of our customers tried to walk in and then called you, I think, and stood outside the front door because they're like, I'll just wait here till someone's here to close up, which is such a perfect picture of how Jerrols runs and how much our customers mean to us and how much they help us, which is really, really awesome. And then I think, I don't know if you want me to share this, but I think that you and I have recently realized we can each say the line, "You're acting like your mother," to each other. Which I think is really funny, but it might get me in trouble one day.
I think it's very interesting how we have gotten to where we are, and to think about my grandparents came up with this idea and they put this little store in the front of their house, or beside their house. It was like 5 feet away from their side door. And from that, all of this has been created. We went from 300 square feet to 15,000 square feet. And you now have Weinigers as part of us. You have Road Trip Records as part of us. And we've had all these people in between, from Steve's Used Cars to on and on and on. It is a cliche, but it's the ultimate American success story. And many people would argue whether we're successful or not, because we're only one store and we don't have desires to be everywhere, and so on. But for our family, this has just been amazing. And it truly shows that capitalism on a small and local scale really is a wonderful thing. And the experiences you've had and Clayton is having are just irreplaceable. And so I'm very appreciative that you guys took the time to come in and talk to me today and
Yes.
share your
Potty break
stories.
time.
Oh, can I go too? I'd have to wait in line.
You don't anymore. We've got 3 bathrooms.
Yeah, that's a huge improvement. We used to have one and it was sort of scary. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you all for listening. I think at this point, we're sort of at the point where we're wrapping
Yeah.
up.
Clayton's out of here.
Yeah. We can
It's the
say
only
all
reason
things
we
about
came.
Nate. It's
Ooh.
funny you mentioned about your mom saying she got fired. I definitely was fired at least once, and actually in interviewing some other people, it turns out I was fired at least one other time. So it just goes to show you that you not necessarily have to give up once you've been fired. And things will work out perhaps, and maybe I'll get fired again. Who knows? I still have a couple more years to try.
There you go. That's the spirit.
So on that note, again, thank you all for everything you have done to make us a success and you continue to do. And we look forward to seeing what unfolds from here.
Generation 5.
I was gonna say.
Although I think we might have
generation.
just bored Clayton.
He was a little.
This is going to be his first memory of Jerrols.
Yeah, right. He did better than I
They
thought.
forced me to be on camera and sit still.
Do you remember, this is my last random memory? Do you remember the fashion show? You guys put on a fashion show at Thunderbird Motel when we were kids. Shula and I got roped into modeling central stuff for Jerrols at the Thunderbird Motel. I need to reconfirm. Maybe I made this up.
That in
my head,
itself
but
is an experience.
it was an interesting
Sounds
deal.
like a fever dream.
I know, maybe that was just a college.
And I
student,
know
but
that Central has always done, the fashion students have always done a fashion show, and it might have been part of that.
I'll have to text Shula and see.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting to find out more about.
Because some reason I remember it was at the Thunderbird back when that was there, and then I thought Jerrols was just trying to show off clothing. I don't know. I'll have to
Maybe
double
you were
check all
lied
that.
to. They just figured if they told you it was
I
Jerrols,
know.
you'd have to show up.
And we could get you
Playing
to
that
do
trick
all
on
these
us.
things. Or maybe we were trying to create a new fashion center in rival Paris.
That's true. Rodeo and fashion.
Yeah.
That could be our next edition. We need an Eiffel Tower.
You know, speaking of that, it made me think of rodeo buckles and rodeo clothing.
Oh yeah.
And did you ever hawk T-shirts out of the booth, or were you
Oh,
too young
gosh.
at that
Yep.
point?
I forgot about it because the booth sat at our house.
Right.
The red booth that you guys
Right.
used to drag to the
To the
rodeo
fairgrounds,
every
right.
year, fair.
Yeah.
I never worked in there, but I remember Mom worked in there every fair, and I remember moving that booth every year, and every time we moved that, because it just sat there all year. Every time we moved it, the amount of mice that lived under, they weren't living in there, but they lived under, that would just run for it, and then
And we
Oh,
did
I
that for
remember
years.
that.
I bet Jordan remembers probably growing up in that booth
Yeah, I'm sure.
during fair.
It sat right at the entrance, right when you walked in
Yeah.
on the left side.
Right.
Where
Right.
D&M is now. I forgot about that. There were just a lot of random. I remember all the Christmas parties.
Yeah.
Because you would always go out to a restaurant, I feel like.
Back in that day, we did. Yeah.
Everyone would
Yeah.
go to a different, whatever the
Right.
restaurant was, and just,
Right.
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Store parties are always a big deal. Back when the bowling alley was there. Missed the bowling alley. All right. Thanks again, you guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate you watching. You are more than welcome to send questions and comments to rolf@jerrols.com.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.